Hey, Molly Amy amo creato e, iniziato da New Jersey. Last week today lived presentado da Filtastic, comics and art.
Let's fucking go.
Hey everybody, I'm here, a little bit late, but we made it. I had some last minute things to take care of upstairs, and what I had planned to do was kind of like what I usually do as far as going through like long boxes, just kind of showing you stuff that I have. Hey Las Cruces, how are you? First as always. But things got moved around a bit. Why don't we say that? I'm gonna leave it at that. So it's a little off, a little bit different. I just grabbed a random pile, which, to be honest with you, I thought was a box of just Image, and it turns out it's a mix between Image and some DC that I didn't know where to organize apparently. So I just grabbed a small amount. Evil Mike, how are you, sir? I just grabbed a small amount, and I figured we'll go through those and just sit back and chat. I kind of came to a realization while I was watching Brian just a little while ago. I'm at a disadvantage because I haven't read any floppies or any physical copies since maybe September. That was the last time I was at my LCS. I had planned to remedy that soon, but that may be delayed a little bit further yet again. So I'm kind of at a disadvantage in that point as far as being able to talk about what's current and what's not. By the way, can you guys hear me okay? Because I didn't grab my headphones. Just give me a thumbs up if everything's good. If not, I'll grab the headphones, I guess. Thumbs up or thumbs down if you can hear me or not. All right, I'll keep going. Audio's good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm at a bit of a disadvantage there because I can't talk about things like Blood Hunt or whatever's going on with Spider-Man or even some of the newer DC titles. But that's okay. I'm kind of trying to feel things out. And I was even thinking maybe I should start moving my show to evenings. But that's a little rough because I've been like passing out really early lately. But look, I'll show you what I have. I could tell you I've been working a lot on artwork in my free time. I can't show you because two of the things I'm working on are kind of surprises, and the harder one I'm trying to nail first. There's a couple different moving parts to it, but I have a third that's going out maybe today. We'll see, because I left the iPad upstairs. Probably Monday at this point. And yeah, I recycled my Comics Curing Cancer poster book rather. I had one artwork, and this is how they sent it. So I was like, all right, let's send it in this. What else? Oh yeah, C3. They don't need me to talk about it, but you've seen the announcements. They have a new art book coming out. Kind of surprised. Like I felt like I know that they went with more professionals. Look, it's a great cause. That's how it is. I was a little surprised to see other members of the community weren't included. And I'm not talking about me. I figured it was a one and done thing last year. But there's other people who I would love to see represented in the book. Hopefully they get to do it the following year or something in some fashion. Steve the Voice White, how are you, sir? Mike and Steve are both in a book club. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you're in the other book club Mike does with the fantasy stories. It's the Stephen King one. But go ahead and check both of those guys out. Trev, how are you? Trev was just talking about something I might be working on, by the way. So hopefully you're going to have that sooner rather than later. It's just me downstairs. I did want to do the show upstairs just because my kids are still eating. And I figured it'd be fun, but I was told it wouldn't be fun. So that's how it is. And I guess in retrospect, now that I think about it, if you remember the last couple shows I did have upstairs when my son just decided he wanted to go into a screaming match, yeah, I guess it's probably a better move. So let me see. As I was saying, I grabbed just some comics from a long box. I was going to grab the whole long box, and then I realized I can't do that anymore without lots of pain. So I just grabbed some books out of it. I thought it was an Image box. It turns out it's Image and Mix DC. These are books I bought off the shelf as a kid. And some of these, none of these are rarities from what I understand. But here, I'll just show you. See, like Pitt. I remember Pitt was like, when this came out, this was like, oh, you got to get this. You got to get this. It's the guy who does Hulk, but he's better than the Hulk. And then I don't remember how long it took for issue 2 to come out, or issue 3, but I could tell you it was a pretty significant drop, and I think a lot of interest kind of fell out after that. Oh, is Wellbore here? Let's see. Yeah, hey there. I grabbed a long box off the shelf at the LCS from above my head on Good. What kind of shelving do they have that they're able to support long boxes? Because I'm telling you right now, like, you need a steel enforced, like, super bookshelf at least. And don't do that again. we want you to be around, Trev. No nonsense. Yeah, issue 4. I guess you could say I was always a little bit of a completionist. I don't think this was the full series, but this was the full amount of stuff I could find. The original LCS I went to around this time, again, I was a kid, wound up shutting down in the middle of the night and disappearing. And then when I found them, I found out the guy had opened up in the back of like a sports card store, and the sports card guy hated comics. I think this was just right before the whole sports card market just collapsed. And I was a kid, so I didn't know, hey, when a shop packs up and leaves in the middle of the night, it's usually not under good circumstances. I don't think a long box is 100 pounds. Come on. It's metal warehouse shelving. I mean, still, I've seen metal shelving that just kind of buckles after a while. Right now, I've kind of, part of the reason my organization is taking a while is because I kind of will fill up a long box and be like, all right, this one is done. I'm not buying any more of this series. Let's get this to the bottom so they can put the other stuff on the top. But that's not a sustainable solution. I realize that. I would love to build something like how Matt Woods has. Matt and I have talked about that since before I came onto YouTube. If full weight, yes. Weighed them for shipping. I'm not going to get my long box out to test this. I'll take your word for it. I don't know. I can't believe it's 100 pounds. Yeah, I don't think you're lying. I can't believe it. I don't know. Are we talking regular issues? Are you talking like omnis or something? Because I could see it with omnis, but I don't know, not with floppies. Again, going back from my youth, this is one of the weirder titles that I did. Yeah, no, I love Matt's setup. I've said to Matt, like, look, dude, you should pitch some sort of show to HDTV where you go and just like make comic rooms for people. I'm sure people do that. I've thought about custom drawers, a lot of effort though. Yeah, no, it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of time, and it's money. I'll say it. I don't have extra money. I've even looked into. I know there's a guy online. I want to say his name is Collector's Cabinets. I don't know. He makes very high-end, beautiful-looking comic storage. It's all custom made. I think he has to like come to your house and make it. But for the amount of comics I have, I mean, in the other room now, I probably have at least, that's my shoe, at least 40 long boxes. I did the math. It would be like tens of thousands of dollars, and it would probably more, honestly, just because of the sheer volume. That's kind of one of the reasons why I'm trimming down, so to speak. Yes, it'd just be way too expensive. Now I found, this was one of the more, I guess you could say, esoteric comics that I read as a kid. I used to have the audio tape, and I kicked myself. I don't know what happened to that, but here was the Max. You know, Matt has a tutorial. It's just that for me, the knowledge, the space, and the time, and whatnot. And hey, Manny, how you doing? Matt also has a huge amount of patience. I remember him talking about when he organized his collection leading up to, or I guess maybe shortly after, making those that custom shelving. And I think in one video he said he had like a week off, so he sat in a hallway in his house 8 hours a day just stacking A, B, C, D, and that's how he did it. And I was like, that's how you have to do it. I've attempted to do that. I don't have that much time. I don't have that much space, and I can't sit on the I can't sit on the ground for more than at least an hour, hour and a half. That's how. Yeah, same way. Matt Woods was my gateway drug as well. Yeah, I wanted to look into short boxes, to be honest with you, because it does make sense. But look, it's a big expense. I mean, here on out, I'm just buying short boxes, but also it's where does it make sense to put into short boxes versus long boxes? Like my uncannies are going to remain in long boxes because that's just the best way to keep them all together. Hey, Neil. Neil, when you change your name again, I think you need to just put an AKA Neil, because it's now that I've gotten accustomed to Collectomania equals Neil, I have to. It's going to change. That's just how it is. How you doing, Kenneth? This is around the time I fell off with the Max, by the way, because I was hyped for the Max and Pitt crossover, and it just wasn't very good, if I recall. I do have some older issues of the Max as well that are not in this pile, so I'll keep this out to do this. Here's spine ticks on this one. This one too. And this is around the time the series really just started getting more and more strange. Yeah, it was a good series too, and they ended it well. Suddenly, but it served its purpose. I had seen, I can't remember the name of the channel, but if you're interested in finding it, I'm sure it won't be it won't be hard to find. Jerk Comics. There you go. He did a long form video on Sam Keith and the Max during that time. It was more about Sam Keith. And I learned a lot because I like Sam Keith. I've never seen him at a con. I've never met him. Again, granted, I haven't been to a con at this point in, let me see, 2000, since 2009. I can't admit. No, 2010, excuse me. It's about 15 years. And yeah, I didn't realize that if what this guy says is correct, he hates this style that he's done. And only because it was kind of against what he wanted to do. He was trying to adjust to be more like a McFarlane, and it wound up causing some pretty bad damage to his arm and his wrist and whatnot. Oh, hey Brian, look, there's no issue, dude. I'm here with no agenda, so don't feel bad. You don't need to apologize for nothing, dude. Oh, the doctor on Kickstarter. I think you oh no, I'm thinking of a different Kickstarter that's coming up. But Brian's fully funded, but if you haven't done so yet, just a quick friendly reminder, go to Kickstarter, support the Doctor issue 2. Get both covers. I did one, Norn Rad did the other, or Rad Comics and Art did the other. Rad is a great, great artist. Support him. I think my cover's pretty good too, so just get both. Hey Robin, how you doing? Fake, well, what happened? Is there, oh yeah, no, there was a fake channel I told Brian about. I don't know if that was news yet. Yeah, the BCW ones aren't cheap. Oh, thank you, Trev. Trev was nice enough to put up the link. I think everybody here knows, but in case you don't, or maybe you're watching on LinkedIn or Facebook or something else I just don't know about. Go ahead, support the Doctor, and also Legacy Comics with an X.com. My comic, when I drew the cover A, and the interior is coming out in April, so pre-order that now. Curious, can you guys hear my son screaming upstairs right now, giving my wife a hard time? It makes me feel bad, but I did say, hey, I'll stay upstairs. Okay, so moving forward. I remember when I saw this book the first time. Again, we're going back to like early 90s. Every Saturday, you heard him. And here's the thing. Like, I swear to God, I'm waiting for the day the cops show up at our door. He's sitting in his chair right now. And it's just, my wife has probably told him, hey, you have to drink water. And he's just freaking out. So I'm waiting for them. We have a new neighbor we haven't met yet. That's a whole new thing, a whole nother story. And we have a shared driveway. And the houses are, they're not close, but they're not too far apart. They must think that we're like torturing him in here, if they even know that he's around. I don't know. But anyway, early 90s, every Saturday during the summer, my dad and my stepmom would take, I think my sister would come, I don't remember. Well, we would go to the Meadowlands Flea Market. The Meadowlands is where the Giants used to play, if you didn't know, Giant Stadium parking lot. If you happen to be in New Jersey, I think they still do it. In the warmer months, check it out. Again, I haven't been there in years, but it was a pretty good flea market. Get a lot of great stuff. And at the time, again, this was in the middle of the comic boom, you could really get a lot of good comics. So I remember the first time I saw this, I knew that a lot of the Image books were hot, and I was like, oh my God, #1. I didn't realize that there's different volumes. So this was the Savage Dragon #1, Volume 2, but to be honest with you, it was a really good read. I remember really enjoying the Savage Dragon as a kid. I fell off midway in. I forgot what it was that made me do it. I think it might have just been like the LCS moved, and that was it. That's hilarious. This was right up my alley too. I was a huge Ninja Turtles fan before I got into really any other comics. I do have a long box of Ninja Turtles in there that it's like one of those ones that's at the bottom because I'm not buying any more Ninja Turtle comics, but I should do that, and I should bring that out one day just to show you guys. Just you might get a kick out of that. And I do have a lot of those early Ninja Turtle adventures, by the way. Problem is, they're really not in good shape. They were well read and well loved. I used to take them back and forth to the town pool to read them, just to give you a little background on this. I remember this was Freak Force. This was, I had done a review last year, I think, of Freak Force #1. It's kind of like a classic review. Did you see it? Not many people did. As much as I appreciated Savage Dragon, I wouldn't pick it up today. And it's, look, I'm so far removed from the story at this point. I couldn't tell you what's going on with it. I forgot what happened here that I was like, I'm done. But I know Larson tend to start leaning a lot into political kind of stuff with his books, and that's fine. It's just that's not what I really want to read, so that's why I haven't really picked up anything since then. And I've tried to dip back into him, as I'll show you here and there. Oh, there's a Spawn cover somewhere. Durs just was alerted. I don't know what that little move was, but here you go. I feel like when I got back into comics, I was like trying to just look for things that were familiar, but you know, as the old saying goes, you can't go home. I forgot what I backed, to be honest with you, Brian. I actually have to make sure I change the payment method so it actually goes through. But, yeah, as I was saying, you can't go, you know, as they say, you can't go home. It's just, even though it was familiar, it had changed too much at that point. This was a cool cover. I didn't even really know about this one. And this, in case you're looking at it, this is just how the cover looks. It's not torn up, of course. They made it look old. I'd say it was disappointing to find that Savage Dragon was more comedy, look straight action. Yeah, I mean, I think early 90s, it was a lot of action. And there was some humor into it. It was very kind of tongue-in-cheek type of thing. I feel like maybe was there a villain in the early Savage Dragon books that was just like a pile of diarrhea or something like that? I feel like maybe that's why I was like, I don't want to read this. I don't know. Anywho, so a lot of you know that when I went back to comics, it was late 2001. I remember because, oh, good. I didn't just think that up. So there you go. You know, and I started with, I remember what brought me back in was Wolverine Origin. And again, you start going to things that you're familiar with. I don't think there was any Ninja Turtles at the time, but I went to X-Men. It was not a good run during that point. Actually, no, I take that back. I think it was the ending of a so-so run, and then they went into New X-Men. The Grant Morrison title, just to give you a little background. And after maybe about a year or two, I slowly started to think his name Shithead. I think so too. I wanted to expand my boundaries a little bit. I started picking up titles I'd never read before, like Iron Man, Avengers. Actually, I got into Avengers right before Bendis took over. But I also wanted to go into DC. And DC, at the time, I found it to be a little unapproachable. Like, look, you could always pick up Batman. But the other ones, and I'm the other titles, and I know that I'm not the first person to say this, it feels a little unapproachable. I did jump in with Identity Crisis. That was my first kind of foray into DC, and I appreciated it, but probably not as much because I didn't know a whole lot about all the characters. Then I remember, well, looking at the book, it says October 2004, so a couple months in or so, I was like, you know what, I want to start with a new DC character because maybe that's a good way of creeping in. And I wound up getting this book, which I'll show you shortly. And I don't think this character's around now. I know that she was a big part of... this was the one. This is the Identity Crisis. Yeah, I loved Identity Crisis. It was... I still don't understand why it gets a lot of hate, to be honest with you, but I feel like a lot of criticism is turning around with that. But anyway, this character, I think during Bendis's first big DC story, had made a comeback, and then I think when Bendis left, I think that she kind of went to whatever void it is. Trev, you tell me. I mean, you're more up on DC than I am, and honestly, the style of this book and the what I do remember about the character itself stood out to me. This was Manhunter. Not to be confused with Martian Manhunter. Now, I thought I had a full run, but for some reason I go 1, 2, and then pick it up at 13. So maybe these are in another box as well I'm unaware of. And then when the 1 year later came in, if I remember correctly, what was different, she had a child. I feel like she was a single mother and was operating basically as a bounty hunter in this universe here. And I remember it was very unique to me. Was that to be honest with you, Steve, I can't remember enough of it to recommend it or to not recommend it. I guess I liked it because I have a significant number of them, I think. As I said, I thought I had a full run, but it just kind of jumped here. Not that, that's a huge to do. Lightsaber. But yeah, I mean, look, it really did help me as far as getting a kind of an introduction, like a toe into the DC comic universe, and I blew up from there too. This is a cool cover. Oh, she was in the last Joker series. No, she's not. She wasn't comedic, to be honest with you. She kind of felt like, I don't want to say a Batman type of character, but she was more of a serious tone. Definitely was not Deadpool in that sense. If anything, I'd equate her to something like the Punisher, but without guns, only because you have somebody, if I'm correct, and again I might be totally off, who has no powers, but is in this whole world with these superpowered characters. Manhunter used to be a male android, wasn't it? I guess so. And I don't know if this was the last issue or if I was just bored with it at this point. That's the last one, at least in my collection here. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to grab some more. That was all I could carry at first, but we'll keep going. Unless you guys are bored, let me know. You know what, Mike? I take it back. Maybe you need a dancing hot dog. Yeah. Maybe these are 100 pounds. But let me just see here. It certainly isn't as light as I remember. Trev with the Hall & Oates reference. Oh, as I almost take my printer down. Getting hot now. I have an issue with Batman in it. From the original series or from that series? That being the one I just showed you. You know what? If I were continuing with StreamYard, I would go and do like a little break or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we know the price of StreamYard is going up, so we'll have to figure all that out. Yeah, pretty much. I should show you the storage area of our basement with one day. You would probably freak out as a collector, but basically the way my house works, you walk in, and then to the left is our office area that I'm in right now, and then further to the left it's a step up, and then more steps up to the actual storage section, and it's in kind of different tiers. And I've been told that that's because the way that these older houses were built, I'm like on the side of a small mountain, I guess I like to describe it as. My front yard is very uneven. And they didn't want to demolish the boulders, so they just kind of paved over them and tried to make it a step. And so you're going up, and then to get to where most of my books are, you have to like bend down and do a pickup. Like I've definitely pulled out my back at least a couple times with long boxes alone, and that's part of why it's really difficult to do the do like what Matt Woods did, because I did try at one point to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like just stacking them up here. I couldn't do it in one day, and my wife was not happy that I had books just out over here. So yeah, that was a problem. But the last time I did a big jaunt of organizing is while we were doing that Stephen King book club, Stephen, Mike, and Trev, where I would, after the kids were in bed, after my son was in bed, I think at that point. Yeah, I don't think my daughter was around quite yet. I could be wrong on that. After everybody was sleeping, I would come here, I'd play the audiobook and sit and organize. And again, I'm sitting on concrete, so it's like my back was not happy with me. But I digress. So I just went with more DC stuff here that are it's in that same box. Here's something you might not know. So, Trevor, you're talking about Infinite Crisis. And I've shown off before, I do have the first appearance of the Blue Beetle, the new Blue Beetle. I do have the death of Ted Kord as well. Did he get better yet? I don't know. But I did have a good run of the original Blue Beetle. The original new Blue Beetle, you know what I'm saying. Okay. The 06 run. Why don't we say that? And you know, I remember, even though I have a significant amount of them, it was kind of like, I think it kind of grew on me. It kind of, not grew on me, it kind of wore on me to the point where I was like, yeah, I'm kind of done. But my former LCS, the former owner of my LCS, the guy who actually started it, he used to do something where if you had a book that was on pre-order and it was into your pulls, once you canceled it, it took 3 months for him to stop putting it in your pulls because he would order that far out in advance, which it never made sense to me, because it's like, yeah, but if I tell you to add it to the pools, you'll start right away. And I'm sure that there's a good business sense to it. It's just, it was a policy I know that was not very popular at the LCS. And you also had to kind of stay on top of it a little bit. because he did have times when it was like, yeah, I'm going. Hey, I told you to stop this one 4 months ago. So, yeah, I think once Keith Giffen was off of it, the late great Keith Giffen, the story kind of suffered. I could be wrong. Yeah, but too, we're also talking nearly 20 years ago at this point. These are from 2007. I don't know if things changed during that time. And I can tell you right now too that once he sold the store, that policy went away. Yeah, this is the last one because I also have pretty much a complete run of Jeff Johns Green Lantern. That was kind of like my favorite DC read at the time. So I think that was my exit. Like, okay, good. This is a last tie-in. Okay, whatever. And I'll be honest with you, there were some times when he wasn't looking, and I just put the books back anyway. Because he also had a thing where, like, oh, you like reading Avengers? Oh, they came out with like 8 Avengers limited series. I don't know if you want them or not, so I just threw them in. Now, you weren't obligated to buy those ones, but some of them, yeah, like I definitely, when he wasn't looking, turned around and put back. Pet Avengers is the first one that comes to mind. I have here, these are the 1 year laters. I really liked the concept of Aquaman at the time, which Aquaman fans probably hate. I might be thinking a New 52, but whatever they did where they threw out basically all of what you know about Aquaman, and it's like they almost started with a newer character, that was great. Hey, Shop. I was going to say something. Oh, they have topless mermaids. That kind of makes sense, I guess. Just in the ocean. Just my opinion. And I realize that this is not a well-revered run of Aquaman. Like I said, I'm not an Aquaman guy. Hey, JSS, how are you? I just wanted to try things out. And at the time, comics were cheap enough that you can just try things out. Yeah, this was the $2.99. I think this was when they did the whole drawing the line at $2.99 promotion, and that didn't bode well. Yeah, I remember this cover a lot because it reminded me of a Final Fantasy game. Probably the best cover of that entire run here. Let me focus on that. Mario Alberti. I have to look that up, but that's a great cover. Better than $4.99. Yes, it is. I thought it said Ted Williams on the cover of it for a second as the writer. I was like, oh, how does a ghost write? That's interesting. Let's see here. Now, this is a book I have tried to get into multiple times, as you will see, and I gave up, I think, right around, well, you'll see when I gave up. But I have some older issues of it as well. And let me ask you something. Tell me. Well, I'll show it to you first. But it's, yeah, I vaguely remember the show. Let me start showing you. So I know this isn't the same volume, obviously, but that's the oldest one I have. That comes to mind. I think I have the older ones there now too. So yeah, the Outsiders, or Batman and the Outsiders, however you want to put them. This is the Judd Winick run, which, again, I was trying to dip my toes into DC around this time. And I was like, hey, that guy was on The Real World. He did have a pretty decent Avengers run that I think got overshadowed by when Bendis came on. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think these are some early Acuna covers as well. So let me ask you guys this. When you are organizing your comics, do you organize these with the prior volume as Batman and the Outsiders, or do you put them under Outsiders? Never seen a single episode of Road Rules. I have. We were more of a Real World household, to be honest with you, my sister and I. But Judd's year on Real World, I think, is still one of my favorites. So you have these under Outsiders, and then you have your older ones, or because I think they changed the name as well midway in. You go back to Batman and the Outsiders, or do you just put it all under Outsiders? See, Steve, that's kind of like what I was doing. Then my Batman box was way too big, so it was like, I got to separate it. And Outsiders is not a book I'm going to pick up again. So, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like the early ones, I'm talking about like mid to late 90s, because it was kind of before, at least in my opinion, before reality TV got formulaic. Yeah, see, Trev, that's the problem that I run into. I mean, the only thing I could think of doing is maybe like a hybrid of alphabetical and then things that I know I have significant numbers of, like Batman or Superman or Action Comics, Avengers, Spider-Man, certainly X-Men, keep that separate. I apparently read this for a while, but I couldn't tell you much about them. Yeah, and that's the way I was trying to do it at first. And when my collection was smaller, that worked out well. Only because if you think about just the sheer number of spin-offs the X-Men have had, and limited series and whatnot, you can't follow it. That's just how it is. So you have alphabetical, and then the bigger books, Trev, the bigger titles that you have more of, you have separate. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Evil. And I try to do that too. But, the problem is, I kept getting more of the limited series and whatnot. Not in, actually, I was going to say not in this run from what I remember, but after, was he off at this point? Yeah, this was the last of the Judd Winick covers, and then starting on issue 50, Tony Bedard takes over, and there you go, Batman right there. I don't know if the series ended at that point. That's the last one I have from that run. And then, it must have. So here's the annual. I usually put annuals at the end of the series. I have the willy-nilly. Then starting in late 2007, Chuck Dixon comes in with Batman and the Outsiders. So that's what I was saying to you. Like, so you would have this after Outsiders, or you'd have this after Batman, or just alphabetical. I'd love to do straight alphabetical again. Again, it's okay. Great. It's probably going to take me months before I get to here's a box of bees. You know. And then here, I remember this was the 5 of a kind one shots. I don't know why I have them with the Outsiders here. Which basically was a bunch of Marvel team ups. My whole collection is alphabetical publishers. God bless you. Wonder Woman. Oh, I kind of remember this Grace character. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Here's one. And this might have been like one of the early crossovers. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Yeah, that's the problem, because I understand that. I have the patience for that. Others may not. Yeah, for a while I had Marvel, DC, Image, and everything else, and I can't do that anymore. Yeah, mine took, I had it relatively under control, and it took about 9 months, and we didn't stop it. We were just like, I didn't finish. We were just kind of like, I'm done with this. And every so often, I'm like, I should really put these together, at least just to figure out what I have and, you know, see what I could kind of part with. So we have one of the first big series I would catch over with is Checkmate, like the limited story runs, you should say. I vaguely remember this, and I don't remember why. Is that supposed to be Mr. Terrific? No, it's supposed to be Amanda Waller in the background, which I'm kind of surprised because most of the background looked good, but she kind of looks like Michael Jackson there. Hey guys, you want to come to my ranch? Play with my monkey and whatnot? He's having fun, trust me. If anybody wants to isolate that clip, I get it. I understand. I probably don't have the gumption to do that. Some very cool covers, I have to say, with this particular one. I don't know if these are, it kind of, I don't know. I forgot who it reminds me of, to be honest with you. I vaguely remember the story. I remember it spun out of Infinite Crisis. I'll be honest with you, Steve, if I could find a box that's not a short box but the same size, only because I'm sure everybody here agrees short boxes be expensive, I would make the conversion right away. But like I said, just for me to go buy I'd probably have to go like wholesale through BCW. It would probably be like thousands, and it probably would be the easiest way to organize it, to be honest with you. But bum. I was going to say 32 of those boxes are Ultra Rock. I do have 3 BCW bins, but I use that just for graded comics, and I do need at least one other bin, to be honest with you. These are the things that kind of annoy me about collecting. Like, I could be honest with you. I remember the beats of these stories. I don't remember the whole things. And then, I don't know, maybe that's just the nature of the beast. Maybe I've just kind of read too much. I thought this was a limited series. I guess this was an ongoing, to be honest with it. I just kind of went with. FOMO got me on those art. I got enough of the art boxes where I was like, these are smaller and more expensive and not nearly as sturdy. So maybe I kind of got out easy on that one. It's a cool cover. Yeah. Yeah, I think the last batch I bought, I had to buy like, I'm trying to think. I want to say I had to buy like 4 Spider-Man boxes. It was from early into, I forgot whose run, but the art on them wasn't my favorite. It was more cartoonish. I was just in a spot where I needed boxes immediately, and that's all they had at the LCS. Yeah, but here's the thing, Trev. I feel like, not necessarily with anime, but with comics, especially if you have the DC app or the Marvel app, it's easier to go back now and look at this stuff than it's ever been. I kind of remember this character. That being said, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've tried, even just for videos, to go back and read comics from when I was a kid. And especially like the X-Men comics, the style was so different. Because I often said, hey, I remember an X-Men comic taking me like an entire day to read as a kid. And I thought, hey, Deadman, how are you? I thought, hey, maybe it's just, I'm better as a reader now because I'm an adult. And yeah, that Fabian Nicieza, he liked his words. And I'm not mad at it, because to be honest with you, one of the reasons I might stop collecting a book is if I feel an issue, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to read an issue, just because I feel like I'm not getting my money's worth. That was one of my biggest gripes with the original Red Hulk storyline from Jeff Loeb, is just you could finish the whole book in 2 minutes because it was mostly splash pages and just whatnot. And I get it's a Hulk book, I get it's an action kind of story, but I felt like I wasn't getting my money's worth for it. But I digress. Trev, I actually was going to ask you about anime, and the only reason I bring that up is because when I visit my in-laws, usually on Sundays. They cut the cord completely, but they don't have any services whatsoever. So my brother-in-law just uses Pluto, and they have like 2 or 3 dedicated anime channels. And I was always like, maybe I could sit and like watch one of these. And I was like, I don't even know where to start. Same with I'm noticing is it Max has a good amount. I might be wrong, of because we have a bunch of services. Max has a good amount of anime series. I don't know if I said it wrong, Evil. And I was like, I don't even know where you would begin with something like this. And to be honest, I don't even know if I would have the patience, just because 9 times out of 10, I'll start watching something animated and my brain just floats away. But yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, see, like I don't want to commit to another streaming channel. I certainly one that you pay for. Just I'm not that invested into it. The little bit of anime I remember watching, because I think I tried to watch it more like in my teens, was before I think things kind of got figured out. Like I remember watching, I used to have a VHS of a Final Fantasy anime series that wasn't very good. And also, now that I think about another video game series, there was a very short run on, I don't even know what channel it was on, where they did a Dragon Warrior, if you remember that old game series. I know in America they only did like the first 13 episodes. Like I said, it didn't really catch on. I think in Japan it was much longer. Don't know. My concern is not never running out. It's okay, where would I start? And what can I watch? What can I watch without? What's appropriate to watch? Let's say like at my in-laws or with my kids in the room, that type of thing. But I digress. Like, just to give you an idea, I think that I feel like when my mid-teens, Dragon Ball was just starting to catch on because I had a friend who was big into it, and I never watched one. He was trying to explain it to me. I was like, I don't understand. Watch a top 10 list featuring taglines. Go from there. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Trev, you need to have now a show, even if you do a live show or something. Trev the Shipping Guru, big in Japan. Maybe a t-shirt. I would get a t-shirt that says Trev the Shipping Guru, big in Japan. Yeah, and now I know there is there like a live action one or something I'm thinking of that I think it pops up on Netflix or something every so often. I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm kind of lucky to even get to watch my stuff on streaming. I'll end with this just because by the time we get done putting the kids to bed, cleaning up, it's been like 10:30 lately. And that's when I'll sit down and draw, because if I'm not, I will pass right out. And my wife has been watching various, they have different Love is Blind, Love Island, so different reality shows, some from other countries that are badly dubbed in Netflix. Yeah, it's interesting. Some of them, I'll say this, she liked Love is Blind. That's got the most interesting concept. I almost want to say I appreciate the foreign language ones more, just because you see different values in there. Like you had a few who didn't make it to the altar because like, yeah, no, we just want to take it slow. It's like, great. Why didn't people in the American version have this epiphany? Anyway, I could go on for another hour just about stuff my wife is watching and I'm dreaming of watching. But I think that's it for today. I appreciate you sticking in here. Just figured I'd go through my collection. I didn't have any agenda planned or anything, so hopefully this worked out for you. Let's see. Today's March 1st, so I guess I will see you again on the 15th as I try to do math. Thanks again for checking me out. Have a great day. Peace, love, and comics.